every summer. It always seemed like we were going to a funeral service. And the gentleman who owned the funeral home, Sheila Marshall Funeral Home, Reverend Samuel Marshall, who our chapel's named after, I just watched him and I admired him. And I had so much respect for him. And traditionally or historically, in the African American community, teachers, preachers, and funeral directors were the leaders of the community. And this gentleman was all three. He was my mother's principal, and he was our family funeral director, and I just had so much respect for him. He had this baritone voice and all this change in his pocket, and when he came around, and he took over a room when he came, and he just had so much respect for our family. And I said I wanted to be just like him. The first service I worked was at a church called Brown's Chapel here. I worked for Palmer's Funeral Home under the direction of E. Perry Palmer, and it was right before I went to mortuary school. He allowed me to work at his funeral home a few months before I started mortuary school, and once I finished mortuary school, he allowed me to do my apprenticeship there and then work there. You know, it's interesting because I really never thought about opening or starting a funeral home until families that I was privileged to serve said, Brian, you need to do this for yourself. You have a gift. God has blessed you with something, and you need to share it with the world. So as more families talked about that, more families said that to me, I began to think I could do it for myself. And interestingly enough, Mrs. Rodan McCullum, who owned McCullum Funeral Home at the time, was wanting to retire. She wanted to retire. And fortunately, I was able to purchase the funeral home from her, and we named the funeral home McCullum Myers. And I kept the name McCullum because Mr. McCullum, Mr. Claude McCullum, worked at Levy's. He managed Levy's like I did, and he was an Omega. He was a community servant, and I wanted to be just like him. You know, I wanted to follow in his footsteps as well, and I kept the name McCullum. And the future is very bright for Myers Mortuary. We're trying to do a lot of things that are innovative. We're trying to touch not just the African American community, but just the community in general. I think a lot of times churches and funeral homes are segregated, and it shouldn't be. We are servants, and we should serve everyone.